Hello, Mayor Jeff Schielke reporting to the community for the third time in what has become the coronavirus crisis that is sweeping the United States of America. It's a very difficult time for all of us, and I've engaged in this exercise to give these reports just to hopefully bring a little local perspective onto it as to what's happening and why things are done the way they are, and answer any questions that people may be raising. So if you'll just bear with me here for a couple of minutes, I want to share with you some of the latest comments and requests and ideas that have surfaced with me over the last few days. First of all, I want to stress the fact that one of the things we are really trying to do, per the governor's order, is encouraging everyone to acquire one of these face masks to put over your face and mouth and nose. And I'm not going to put it on for this. I carry it with me so that when I go someplace and I need to put it, I can put it on right away. But I don't want to do it during this presentation, because I'm told by some people that it kind of numbs the sound of your voice. And with trying to make this into a video here, we want to make it as clear and make myself as clear as I can. So I want to encourage everyone to get a mask if you haven't already. I'm sure if you probably called the city, we could supply you with one if that would be the case, or a couple. We also have been very benefited in this community by some very strong support from various organizations who have donated money to help buy masks. We have a company out in our industrial park, Chicago Export Importers, who has been very generous in supplying masks because they have access to some. Linda B is the owner of that firm and was down last week and presented the police and fire departments with a whole case for each one of them. So we've been very, very fortunate to have a lot of support of the community. The thing that seems to be kind of the ongoing problem or conversation that's out there is that people don't fully understand, and I would admit I think some of the rules and regulations that have been put out by the state are a bit complex for the many people to try to figure out. And I'll use as an example, I've had some people in the last few days tell me that they were desirous of buying themselves some new bifocals or some new contact lenses. And so they were very interested in trying to find a optometrist that was open that they could go to, and they were told that some of them were closed because they were only open in emergency situations. Other places apparently, maybe they could find one, maybe they couldn't. There were differentiations in prices. So I had this one person that I know, a friend of mine, very close friend. They needed to have glasses, and so they wanted to bring a friend with them, or a relative, whatever, to the optometry store. And they came in and were successful in doing it, but that wasn't without its moments too, because there was some challenge about bringing extra people into the office and things of that nature. So sometimes you had to work around those types of situations. But if you continue to have a problem like that, feel free to give me a call at the office, and I'll try to give you my best suggestions as to how you can go about getting a particular service that you need. Another one that's in very high conflict at the moment is beauty shops and barber shops. And as you know, all of our beauty shops and barber shops in Batavia are for the moment temporarily closed per the governor's order. I will tell you that the governor, in cooperation with the city of Chicago and the regional government councils that surround the city, has formed a special council to advise the governor's office on steps that need to be taken to kind of clarify or begin to reduce some of the restrictions that are being put forth. And I have the distinction, I guess I will call it, of being chosen by the representatives of Kane, Kendall, and DeKalb County to be their representative on that particular group. So I'm going to have, and I've already had some conversations, some input with some of the folks involved here as to, adaptations and changes that we need to make in the region to kind of make life easier and more agreeable for many people. And certainly barber shops and beauty shops are a very strong point of conversation that's going on. So hopefully we'll see some wedging away so that maybe people, maybe one by one, wearing masks and being tested when they come in the door, will be able to go to a beauty shop or a barber shop in the near future. I'm optimistic that that may happen. It hasn't happened yet, but trust me, there are voices in the room making strong cases for this. That being said, I also want to just put again a word of thanks out, and I'm not going to name them all. I listed a whole bunch of people in my last talk, or various organizations that have stepped forward and done untold great work in this town of supporting individuals who needed food or needed a ride to the doctor's office or whatever it is. We've had a great run here of this town showing its true colors, and we now have this motto called Batavia Strong, and I'm very pleased to say that I think that speaks well for what this town is all about and the way that we go about doing things. So I'm just very pleased with overall, despite all the adversities that we have to crawl through, we are doing some stuff that I think will be beneficial to Batavia, and the most important thing is we want to keep the coronavirus down to the lowest point that we can, and so far we've run a pretty good record with that. And so we want to just kind of keep it there, keep everybody on the well side of the agenda, and keep our residents safe and secure. And that's why, again, we ask you to continue to kind of hunker down in your house and stay, not by yourself, but certainly with your families, and just abide by the ideas that are being put forth, because this is a serious matter. There have been a lot of people dying throughout the country, as I'm sure you've heard, and we're trying to keep that numbers away from Batavia as best we can. On a more lighter side, I'd just like to bring you up to snuff on a couple of things that are happening in town. If you've been over on the southwest side of Batavia in the last few days, you've seen a lot of road construction going on, and we are in the process now of doing our rebuilding of Main Street from Water Street out to the Elms Restaurant on the west side of Batavia, just a little bit west of Van Ortrick Avenue. And the entire width of Main Street is being dug up and changed over, and we're installing some new sanitary and storm sewers in that area, and uncombining an old storm sewer system that was put in the ground there in 1913 and has caused us some problems in recent years with backups of water in basements. And so we're taking the steps now to clear that out. And we were very fortunate to secure a $2.5 million grant from the federal government under the Surface Transportation Planning Program, which is administered by the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning and IDOT, to help Batavia pay for this. So this is a multi-million-dollar project over there, but a large chunk of it is being paid with federal funds, so I'm glad to report that. Another project that's about to start, it hasn't started yet, but in the next few days, is going to be the South Prairie Street project, which will start at the north end of South Prairie Street at the railroad tracks where they cross there right by Wilson, and it'll go all the way south on Prairie Street to Pine. And there's going to be a similar kind of rebuilding of that street. We're going to be doing some utility work there. We're going to be putting in new curb gutter, and it'll be a nice modern street. Now, as many of you appreciate, South Prairie Street does carry an inordinate number of residential car traffic because there's so many houses now built south of it along Redant and Wagner and Hart Roads and those areas out there, that we do have huge numbers there, so it is good to get this all rebuilt. Again, we were fortunate to get another federal grant, a couple $1 million, to help rebuild that one. So again, that's not something that's being laid on the backs of the Batavia property taxpayers. These are all federal funds coming in. And I'm also pleased to report that we have secured rather recently a third grant to rebuild the intersection at South Prairie and Wilson Street, to put in a traffic signal at that intersection, along with railroad crossing gates on the two legs of the street, one on South Prairie and the other on East Wilson Street, that cross the railroad track crosses. And this is going to require some significant engineering and a little bit design and probably some right-of-way acquisitions. So that's not going to happen immediately. The plan is to hopefully have it constructed over the next couple of years, probably not starting at all in this year. But I will tell you that the planning and the engineering and the necessary legwork to put something like that into place is on its way. In the downtown area, despite the adverse impacts that we've had on our economy, if you've been by the intersection at River and Wilson Street, you see the Batavia Main Street group and all the other folks that have joined together there to build what we are calling the boardwalk shops, which are going to be 8 individual smaller wood-style buildings where there's going to be startup businesses allowed to come in and open up various shops of retail activity. And I think people are going to find this quite a fascinating thing. And the idea of it is there's going to be a wood walkway out in front of it that is now being constructed in front of the 8 stores. And so that's going to be the boardwalk, just like we have in Atlantic City. You're going to have a walkway that's going to be not made out of concrete, but made out of wood, and it's going to be right here in Batavia. Interestingly, I've already had calls from several of the area's mayors who want to come over and see this thing when it's done because they think it's quite a unique idea. The other thing I want to share with you is that, as all of you are hearing, many towns have canceled summer activities and parades. Geneva's canceled their Swedish Day celebration in the first part of June. We are hedging our bet for just a few more days here as to whether or not we're going to be able to do the 4th of July fireworks program on the 4th of July. And I'm not at all sure where we're going to go with that. Probably at the next time I speak to you, we're going to have an answer for that, but we're going to try to keep that open. We've raised some money for the fireworks. We need to raise some more, but we're not sure that all things are going to come together for us from a perspective of social distancing and all the issues surrounding the corona, that we're going to be in a safe position to do it on July 4th. There's been some ideas of kicking it back to the weekend of Labor Day. That's, I think, in consideration. And another thing, oddly, that I've gotten several requests the last few days about is that there's a number of residents who either enjoy or want to participate this year in a citywide garage sale to support the fireworks fund. Now, that was planned and it was canceled because of the corona issues, because it was supposed to be coming up maybe even this weekend, and that had to be canceled. So I think the Fireworks Committee has held open the idea that maybe they will try to still do that sometime later in the year and let everybody do it, because I'm having numbers of people tell me, well, you got me home, I'm sequestered at home, I'm hunkered down, so what am I doing? I'm going into the basement or the garage or the attic or the crawl space or my closets, and I'm finding stuff that I didn't know I even had anymore. And I'd like to have the opportunity to just bring it outside, put it in my garage, and on the day when you're going to have this sale, we'll try to sell some and hopefully make some money for the fireworks, because you pay a fee for being on the map for this thing. That's how the fireworks make their money. So we've still got that idea kicking around. So I'm very pleased by the things that we do still have happening in Batavia. And we've got several more new businesses that are going to be coming. We have the old popcorn stand at near the intersection at Houston and Water Street has been purchased by new owners, and they're going to be doing some restorations on the building. We've had some other new businesses tell us that they are in the process of remodeling storefronts along Wilson Street, and once things clear up, they're going to be opening some new business activities. And I don't want to take anybody's thunder away, so I'm not going to talk more about it than that. But Batavia has, I think, risen to the occasion. I'm very proud of our town. We've worked very diligently to make sure that we keep everybody in the laws and the ideas and the orders of the governor. And quite frankly, we haven't arrested anybody or done anything. We've asked for cooperation a few times, and please don't use the playground equipment or whatever. But we've done it, I think, with professionalism and public policy actions that speak well to how this town should treat its own residents and visitors to our town. And so, I just want to make a couple of final observations for the moment. It's interesting to me to drive around town, and I do with some interest, because we've got all this construction going on, certainly on Main Street. We've also got the ending construction down on the further southwest side along Morton and Jefferson and Walnut Street and Jackson. There's a lot of storm sewer separation going on down there, so I go down and look at that. And as I drive around, it's amazing to me the number of people I see out walking. And I think that's very good. They're getting exercise. But what is further kind of really a reality that I guess I'm impressed with is the number of people who are out walking with their dogs. Now, I guess I never realized, and I think this is a rather new phenomenon in our town, how many people have a dog or some type of a pet. And this is a big thing. And so, kind of ironically, I've had a couple of people who are who would like to have a dog. I was going to say they're dog lovers. I have several people I know that say, gee, I wish I could have a dog, but I have a health condition or I have a family situation going on where somebody's allergic to something or whatever, so I can't have a dog. So these people will tell me, if nothing else, I enjoy sitting there watching all these other people with their dogs. And one even told me that they were going to go to the store and buy themselves a big stuffed animal that they could then sit in their kitchen and pet. Yeah, as they watch other people walk by. So I just think there's an interesting movement in Batavia toward the pet. And I guess the governor's office yesterday allowed for dog washing stores to reopen. So if you're in need of getting your pet washed, I guess those opportunities now exist, and we'll see it. But I guess at the end of the day, the thing that I'm very pleased in my many years as mayor of this town, there have been a number of occasions when we've got into some pretty significant arguments with the city council about building new sidewalks. And I've had subdividers come in and say, well, I don't want to put sidewalks in my subdivision. I'll give you the money and you can spend it someplace in town. And the council has generally said, no, we're not going to agree to it. If you're building new houses, we want new sidewalk. And so that's been a pretty stringent and strict requirement of the city of Batavia that you build new sidewalks wherever you're building new things. And then we even started a fund a few years ago because we had some spaces around town that were block here or block there that didn't have sidewalk. And in many instances, we've come in and retrofitted sidewalk into old existing neighborhoods, sometimes with some degree of animosity by homeowners that didn't want the sidewalk in front of their house. But I say this today because I'm right around town and I see literally hundreds of people now out walking around. I am so pleased that the city council maintained their policy going way back before I was the mayor, back into the days of Bob Brown and Art Swanson and Archie Bentz, who preceded me in office, that they insisted that this sidewalk program be put into place and that the sidewalks be built. And how fortunate we are today to have as much sidewalk as we do. So I'm going to end my talk today on that comment, that on a positive note, and I'm hoping that as things move forward here in the next couple of weeks, we'll have more positive developments to share about the abilities to reopen some of our businesses or how they'll have to reopen, under what conditions, and that we'll make this as easy a transition as we can and one that everybody can hopefully live with. So I'll be back again. Thanks for your interest and have a great week. Stay safe.